All right, so we're going to go over how and when we should stop trying to scalp the opening range break and go into more of an intraday hold or look for the actual setup, right? To try to get into a trade to hold to, like a high or a low or some other zone or whatever you're exiting. Um, Basically, the the zone will tell you. So this is the session zone right here, right? Um, what you want to do is you want to wait till it starts creating like the steps in the zone. See how it's like creating steps like this? Once it starts doing that, the first time price respects the zone after that is typically the retracement in the direction it's going, right? So let's see if this respects this right here. Yeah, see now how it's stepping up. Now we could look for a buy entry right here as we get a low or something, right? Yeah, like that right there. That's looking pretty decent. And then yeah, so you could this is something where you could buy that like this and then, take profit up here on the midline or something or a high or whatever, right? Um and try to get into an actual trade that we're wanting to hold. There you go. And there's an example of it right there. And if you look, if it never happens, well then you're just in a range day, right? Like we started to get a step here, but it never really respected anything. Now, if you start this right here and it crossed under and went up and respected the midline, well, I mean, yeah, that's a trade, right? But that kind of thing. We're not trending. It's still consolidating, but it's still giving you an entry. But every time something like that happens, you only want to go to the previous high, and I always use the beacon line. I don't go to the wick. Go to the beacon line because more times it'll actually hit. See, that would tick you off right there. More times it'll hit the beacon line than the top, right? Especially if you're in a range. But the best way to get into these is when it's stepping like this, right? If you're looking for those longer holds. So here's an example right here. So you see how the zone's forming. Okay, it starts stepping down. We're moving down fast, right? And then you get a pullback. This is the example of a short. You get a pullback into the zone, and then there you go. Beacon line's red, right? And then we're taking profit. However, we're taking profit if we're using the trailing stop or we're trying to like on these shorts like this. I would just trail it and get as much as you can because usually they're pretty good. They're pretty good drops, like that. You can even go and trail the front side of it if you don't want to give up any. Um, but that's always the bounce point. So now, right when this happens, like the market moves in threes, right? Like that's how I look at it. So we've had one, two, three pullbacks. It's time to maybe take profit if this comes back down all the way, right? There you go. And um, or you could just keep holding. But when this flattens out like this, you're starting to get into a range environment. If you can get back down to the low again, I would just close it. That's the smart thing to do. But here we go. This is a perfect day for the step. So it starts, and this is honestly your contraction expansion happening in front of you, right? Um, but yes, if you see you get the highs taking so your contraction um, creates your high and low, and then the high is taken, the low is swept. It comes up, it respects the expansion line, and takes off. That's what's happening right here. But how do you get into the trade? Well, if you notice, it's stepping up. See how it's stepping up? Okay, and then we flatten out, and it comes down and retest and respects and starts moving up again. Starts creating the step again, right? So your next pullback area is a good entry, and that would be right here, right? And how do you find those? Well, we can use the signal. I mean, we can change our settings around. There you go. Look, see. So after you notice all this, and you're getting your steps coming up, and it bounces and pushes up, and then you get your first trade retracement, and you get a buy signal. Well, okay, cool. I mean, I would take that. That seems pretty good. And if you look left, here we are. Resistance is turned into support. See that? And we buy, and our stop loss goes below that, and or below the zone down here, and then we take profit. I don't know, 2 to 1s or whatever, or we're trailing, or however you want to do it. And there you go. So that is how you know when to switch from I'm trying to scalp the orb to looking for a trade to hold throughout the day. And you don't have to sit around and watch this all the time. You just need to set alerts and bouncing off the zones and stuff and pay attention to them. And that will give you the idea. And then you can, and if you want to tighten up your entries even more, you can go and then you can switch right from the session to a more scalping and go into a time frame that you're comfortable with. And like here's the 45 right here, right? So if you look, we're getting our drop down into the 45 on that same thing. We're respecting it right there. Let's see if we, whenever we get a sell or a buy signal, right? Because we're expecting our buy. There's your buy signal. Everything's looking good there, and then we're getting our stop loss below the zone, and then we're going for a 2 to 1, or we're looking left for a reason for this to hit. So there you go. There's your reason right there, and see if it actually makes it up there or not. I don't know. I don't remember. Um, I don't know if it's gonna go up there or not, but that's basically it in a nutshell on how to know when it's time to try to try to hold a trade, right? Get out of the scalping mode more into the intraday, or even if you don't want to be a scalper, this is a really good way to figure out when should I really get into the market. It's not, you're not guessing anymore at this point. You know when you should or shouldn't be getting in, right? So you're gonna increase your win rate and your profit expectancy through the roof just by waiting, just by waiting to see what is going on with these zones like this, right? So we want to wait for the crazy, right? And start getting some steps. Like this thing's moving and stepping, right? And it starts stepping up and you break a high, you break the session zone high, right? Okay, well, it's probably going up. And then we come down and we get um this right here. And then like I showed you a second ago, you can turn on the other zones, man, or you could have two of them running. Like you could just swap this to 45 here, right? And then show the fills and midline. We can do whatever we want, but there you go. There's your 45 zone on top of your. We'll change the color so that's separated. We'll go purple. That'd be nice. There you go. So you got your 45 separated from your session, right? And you're getting a pullback entry off the 45. That's an amazing freaking entry, dude. That's telling you right there. You should probably buy into this because you're splitting off, your midline splitting off, and then you're retracing into the previous the end cap. Like it's right here. There it is. And when you turn on the signal to help you, look at this. There you go. Buy, and then we're grabbing a high or doing a fixed risk to reward, or however you want to use the thing. But here you go. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, let me know.